This video is going to cover the end of the diagnostic media unit. We have just a few tests left. Now, this is over here on the right, this is an auger slant. You can see that. What we have done in the past, and it depends on what you want to use this for, but phenylalanine is an amino acid. And the slants, it says streak the slant, you're testing for this enzyme called deaminase. So what you would do is you would streak this slant, you would then let it incubate 24 to 48 hours. I don't think it says that here. Well, it just says post-incubation auger color. To be honest, it looks like general media, and when you grow something on here, you can just see growth. But after you incubate it, you would then hold this, you would hold it at an angle, and this is a chemical called ferric chloride. And you're testing to see if phenylalanine deaminase, if it broke down phenylalanine in the agar medium. Ferric chloride will bring that out. So what you have here is two negative tests and a positive. So what is it positive for? It's positive for a deaminase. That means you have an organism that can produce deaminase. So like it says there, differential for phenylalanine deaminase production. Positive, mossy green colors / agar. Negative, no color change. And ferric chloride is this kind of golden liquid. It's got a really strong yellow color to it. You can see it there. But that test is testing for a deaminase. Once again, only certain organisms are going to have that enzyme. Only certain ones can break down phenylalanine. Now, SIM plugs. These are pretty cool. Not a very big picture. This is not a slant. SIM is, and I'll put this in here. It stands for sulfur indole motility. So you can tell three things. And what you do, you use what's called an inoculation needle. It's not a loop. It looks just like a loop, but it just has a thin, like metal end. It's not a needle. The wire is bendable, but the end is pointed. And you would just get some culture on your needle, and you would stab it right down the middle of this agar. So you can tell motility, which means if your organism has flagella. You can tell hydrogen sulfide production with this one as well, if it gets black. And you can tell if it's positive for indole production. Indole is a byproduct of the breakdown of the amino acid tryptophan, which is found in turkey meat. So, and to do that, you'll have to add something afterwards. So what you would do is you'd get a needle, you would stab down the middle here, you would then let it incubate 24 to 48 hours, put them in some racks, put them in the incubator, come back. After 24 48 hours, you would look to see, do you see any growth along the line where the needle went down into the agar? You would then add Kovacs reagent, this stuff over here. Now that smells really bad. It's kind of got a maroon bronze color to it, I guess. Add a few drops of Kovacs reagent and observe the results. And what will happen is, if you have an organism that produced indole, broke down tryptophan, it'll make this really pretty red ring at the top. So you can tell motility, you can tell whether or not there's growth along the stab line. Unfortunately, the ones I have here, you can't see any growth where they did, but you can see here's some hydrogen sulfide, the black agar. This is a negative for hydrogen sulfide. You don't see any growth in here. So it's negative for all three of them. And then see that red ring? That is positive for what's called indole. And it's only going to show up after you add this stuff called Kovacs reagent. You can have an organism that is also positive for this and have a red ring at the top. You know, it would show up that way as well. But yeah, this is called sulfur indole motility. Okay, we're on the last two. Oxidase, you're testing for oxidase. Here's a good word, dimethylphenylene diamine. Phenylene diamine. That's how you say it. Dimethylphenylene diamine. Whew. So you're testing for oxidase. Oxidase is an enzyme that breaks down that big giant Scrabble word. So what you would do with this, you would take the oxidase test. You're testing for this little enzyme, cytochrome C oxidase, which oxidase is fine. You would take some bacteria. You have an oxidase, excuse me. You have a reagent you would add, and you look for purple or not. Purple's positive. This is negative, and that's a little card. We actually used auger slants, and we would drop a reagent in there. It's called oxidase reagent. I need to highlight that for you. And it is purple, kind of a purplish agent, but purple's positive, no change at all is negative, and you're testing for oxidase. So last thing, I'll take that out. So hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. Now, human beings, we have an enzyme. We produce this enzyme. There's an enzyme called catalase right here. Catalase splits hydrogen peroxide, and it splits it into H2O and oxygen, water and oxygen. So it's going to bubble. Now, how you do this procedure, now this is actually, they've added it to a broth tube, but this is the most common way to do it. What they did here is they drew a circle, like a target. You can see it up there. You then take a few drops of hydrogen peroxide and you fill it in the circle. You would then take your loop. You would get whatever the organism you're wanting to test for this. If you're going to do a catalase test, you would get some on your loop and you would put the loop into the hydrogen peroxide. If it bubbles like that, then you have an organism that is catalase positive. If it does not bubble, then it's catalase negative. Same thing. And we only did a few tests. You would do all of these tests at once. You'd come back and read the results, and you'd get this massive amount of data. It's catalase positive. It's indole negative. It was positive on the EMB auger. It was positive on, or negative on the mannitol salt auger. It was negative for citrate. You'd read all your results, and then at that point, you'd figure out, try to narrow down what you're looking for as far as your unknown organism. So this is called a catalase test. And anyway, so that is all the diagnostic media we're going to go through. So you can look at this outline. I hope these videos helped. And I did include a ton of videos on the different media under the tab under the diagnostic media section. All right, thanks for joining me.